Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. Major League Baseball floated out another scenario for getting in as many games as possible. That's what they do. They send a flag up the pole and they see who salutes. Every one that you're going to hear has some good and some bad attached to it. Let's face it, the latest one is not good around here because the Dodgers, the Angels, the Reds, and White Sox are put in the same division as the Indians. And if I had to guess right now, the Tribe would finish last or second last in a season that had at least 110 games. That's more reason to be unhappy that the Indians in previous years couldn't run away with the AL Central when the terrible Royals and Tigers were opponents in 38 games a season. Then you've got to strike while your iron is hot. Unfortunately for Indians fans, if this is the model they use, it's the Indians' chances are the ones that are not so hot. Doug Lesmerises is with us. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Monday night. It's a brand new week. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine into its 24th consecutive year, seen exclusively on cleveland.com, as is Doug Lesmerises, who is at some distant area out there trying to track him down. Wait a minute, I think we've got a sighting, and there he is now.
Hey, Les, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for
Good.
having me.
What's that?
Thanks for having me on. I always like to be with you.
Yeah. Well, one of these days. One of these days. I want to talk about this a little bit later, but I thought you had a great column yesterday. Going to just imagine Ohio Stadium, which should have had 100,000 people there for the spring game, and there's you and about 10 other people on bicycles and whatever. Must have been an interesting situation down there.
Yeah, I love the Ohio State spring game, and just to be at a place that should have been packed with Ohio State fans and there was no one there. It just got me thinking ahead to next year. And I was just talking with Stan Lobby and Mary Kay Cabot about this. We could be in a spot next April where you have the Ohio State spring game, then you have the NFL draft in Cleveland, and who knows? Nobody knows how this is all going to go, but maybe Ohio will be really part of sort of reopening the sports world a year from now. Maybe we'll be open before that.
Maybe.
But I'm already looking forward to next April.
Well, you're right in. This is the 100th year of Ohio Stadium, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's is that right? Yeah, we're right in the
Yeah.
Chick built the stadium. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's amazing to think about. I mean, you get down there, I almost get like verklempt about it. I mean, it's history and it's sitting right there in front of you, and it should be the home of a giant community gathering in this historic place where all these legendary players have taken that field, and it's empty on a
Yeah.
Saturday in April. Should be full. It just was
Yeah,
hard.
right. We'll talk about that later because I think that's a great suggestion you had. Put 200,000 people down there. What the heck? Celebrate the return of football. But again, hopefully we can get it going earlier. All right, we've got something going on a week and a half from now. Roger Goodell has announced that he's going to actually do the draft from his basement. And I don't know if he has kids. I don't know if he'll hire them out to boo him or what he's going to do. But it'll be interesting watching. I'm going to be fascinated as much of the technical stuff as I am as far as the actual pickings are concerned. But the Browns have some work to do, and it'll be Andrew Berry who's in charge. He was here a couple of years ago, and when you look at what they drafted at that point, you'd say it wasn't very good. But he could also say, well, you know, I agreed to it all, but I wasn't the one who made those choices.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. He's not Sashi-Brown. He worked for Sashi-Brown, but he's not Sashi-Brown.
Right.
He comes from a very deep scouting background, in addition to all the analytics things that we like to talk about with Andrew Berry. Um, and they were just in a different place as an organization, right? I mean, they were rebuilding then, and they're not rebuilding now. They're thinking about winning. When you have Baker-Mayfield on a rookie deal and Myles Garrett at this relatively cheap price, you're thinking about winning now. So, I still think there will be positions that they value more than other positions. I think there are still baseline strategies about trading up and trading down and accumulating assets and trying to increase your opportunities to hit on things. But I think we have to be informed by what Andrew Berry was part of before, but we can't go into this draft with the idea that he's going to do the exact same thing, because he's a different guy and they're in a different place.
All right. Well, part of it hinges on whether the scouting people and the football people, if they agree that out of the 4 offensive linemen, that they're all basically the same, and whichever one falls to them is the one they're going to be happy with. But if you think that there's a 1, 2, 3, and 4 out of this, that changes your philosophy of what you want to do, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to look up some stuff, because people love trading up, right? Again, and I was just talking with Mary Kay and Dan about this for a podcast. Like, there's always questions. People love, let me give up more stuff so I can go up and get a guy, because I think it makes people feel like, wow, I really wanted that guy. I was willing to sacrifice a bunch of other draft picks. And people don't want to trade down, a lot of fans, because they feel like it's giving up. They feel like it's letting someone else make the choice. But I think you're right, Les. I think the thing that we should have in mind, in 2017, when David Njoku was there as a tight end at the end of the first round, they gave up a 4th round pick to move up 4 spots to get him, because he was unique. He was 20. He was a certain physical skill set. They didn't want a tight end. They liked David Njoku at that spot. So I do think Andrew Berry is going to have a couple guys that he wants them. Now, if you don't get your guy, then maybe you're willing to fall back. But I think you're right. Have tackles in order and see what happens.
All right, I should quit while I'm ahead if I'm right, but I'm going to throw something else out here for you. I think the draft is set up for certain reasons. If you have a bad year or you've been bad, it sets you up to be better if you do it right. And if you mess with the karma and you change the order and all that stuff, you don't get the benefit of what the draft is supposed to do. So I say, other than taking the best Buckeye available, I say my theory on that would be go get what you're supposed to get. You finished at a certain position because you weren't very good. Now go out and make something better.
I will say, I think I probably disagree there, because I think what you want to do in the draft is be on the lookout, take advantage of desperate teams. And the Browns in the past have often been one of those desperate teams, right? But here, for instance, say Tua Tagovailoa starts to fall a little bit. People are starting to talk now, maybe he would fall. But say there are some quarterback needy teams behind the Browns, and somehow Tua's there at 10. And somebody says, man, I want to come up and get Tua now before he goes to somebody else. The Browns have to be open for business on that. You have to be open for business in the right circumstance, where you say, well, we like this guy. Okay, we like this guy a little bit less. But if we can take advantage of a desperate team who wants to trade with us, we're open to that. So I think they could have done that in the draft when they took Denzel Ward at 4, when they had quarterback desperate teams. Depending how it goes, be open to jump on desperation.
All right, let's take a look at what's happened in the Andrew Berry, Sashi-Brown, and Paul-Depodesta era. Going back to the 2016 draft class, let's take a look at what they did. First pick was the 15th pick of the draft. After a couple of trades, well, they traded out of some places, but Corey Coleman was the man who was picked. 32nd pick, Emmanuel Agba. Then you go down to Carl Nassib, one of the stars of the HBO show. And Sean Coleman was an offensive tackle taken with pick number 76. And Cody Kessler, we all know about him, the 93rd pick in the draft. And then Joe Schobert and Ricardo Lewis. And nobody around from that particular class. You want to lump them? Well, let's continue on. Derek Kindred, Seth DeVal, the tight end. Jordan Payton, wide receiver. Offensive tackle Spencer Drango. Rashard Higgins, the wide receiver. And the next pick was Trey Caldwell. And then Scooby Wright, who already had a great name before he added the 3 Roman numerals to it. So he took a great name and he made it even better. But not much to show from that part of the class either.
So make the Sashi-Brown guy defend that draft. Is that the deal here? I'm the Sashi-Brown guy, so I've got to make that.
I guess.
Here's the deal, right? Part of the reason that looks so bad is they traded down and you get extra picks, and so you have more chances to make more mistakes. So if you notice, whatever that was 12 or 14 picks. You're only supposed to have 7. So they gave themselves extra shots. Agba and Nassib are actually somewhat competent NFL players. It's just the people after Sashi got rid of those guys. They're still in the NFL and playing for teams. And the thing is, if they take Michael Thomas instead of Corey Coleman, they look a whole lot smarter after trading down twice in the first round. So there's one thing to have strategy, but you still got to pick the right guy.
All right, let's take a look at what happened in 17 with DePodesta, Sashi-Brown, and Andrew Berry. Myles Garrett, I think we all agree that was a great pick. It was the right pick to make. Jabril Peppers, we're never going to know. There's David Njoku, and he could be part of this team this year, even though he wasn't much last year. Deshaun Kaiser and Larry Ogunjobi, all picked in the first part of the 2017 draft. Your thoughts as we look into
Garrett,
Howard? Well, let me finish up with Howard Wilson,
yeah.
Roderick Johnson, Caleb Brantley, Zane Gonzalez, the kicker, and then Matt Days was also picked to round out that draft. Okay, you're on.
Well, it's one of those things. Sometimes you don't, it's hard to give credit at the top of the draft. They sniffed around Mitch Trubisky a little bit. Like they could have gone the wrong way at one. Myles Garrett was the right way. Jabril Peppers turns into half the Odell Beckham trade. That counts for something. Njoku could still turn into things. And then they start, throwing darts, right? Kaiser, you're throwing a dart. See what happens. Doesn't work out. Howard Wilson's one of those guys. He just got hurt right away and never was able to play here. I still wonder what would have happened with him. And Larry Ogunjobi was a pretty good pick. So 16, you see the misses. And the hardest thing about 16, and you had the graphic up there were so many great players in 16, and they trade out of there and end up nothing in that first round, basically. 17 was okay. And the thing that's never on a list like that, Denzel Ward, the fourth pick in the 18 draft, is part of that draft class. He's part of both those draft classes. Because if you don't trade down both years, you don't wind up with Denzel Ward, who appears on the 18 board. But he should be half on the 16 board and half on the 17 board, because they should never have had the fourth pick in 2018, except they traded down. So add Denzel Ward to those two, and all of a sudden you look a little better.
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at real-leslevine@gmail.com. We've got Doug Lesmerises with us, plain dealer in cleveland.com. Always a terrific guest. We'll talk a little bit later. Mike Macetta from Nature Stone will check in midway through the show. We'll see what he's thinking. 216-575-0403. Mack-Wilson was asked who he wants the Browns to draft. Now that's interesting. If you've got if you're a linebacker, why would you say we need a linebacker? Any ideas on that?
I love it because you believe in yourself, because you want to be surrounded by greatness, because you're not going to run from a fight. He could have said draft a punter, so I don't have any competition. I like the fact that Mack-Wilson wants this guy that some think is like a generational linebacker, because Mack-Wilson is believing if we draft Isaiah-Simmons, it's going to be me and Isaiah-Simmons running around out there for the Browns for the next 6 or 8 years. So I admire Mack-Wilson for one.
Well, you can never have enough left-handed pitching either, by the way.
Well, that's true, but again, they just let Joe Show go. They just let Christian Kirksey go. Is linebacker the position that they need the most? I know people see, a gap there, but they just took Taki pretty high last year. They took Mack in the 5th year. I just don't end up with linebacker.
Just in general, are you in favor of taking the best guy on the board or the best guy at your position on the board?
I think you have to assign positional value to some degree these days. For instance, I'm kind of on the boat of I would not take a running back super high. And for instance, the Colts, when they took Quentin Nelson, number 6, a couple years ago, and he turned into an all-pro immediately, and they got a lot of credit for that. He's a great guard. Do you win with guards? I just think sometimes when you're a franchise like the Browns, you've had some bad luck. You've got to prioritize the positions that matter most. It's not just the best player. It's the best player at the most important position. So pass rusher, cornerback, tackles, that's where you really, I think, need to early in the draft, not linebacker.
But, all right, so if you screw up the year before or the year before that, that doesn't mean you're going to screw it up again. You got to go with what you believe in. Now, history is not important at this point in setting up your draft.
It's not fair. No, I mean, Andrew Berry, again, he was in Sashi's war room. He wasn't making the calls. He was in with John Dorsey for a year. He wasn't making the calls. So I think, Andrew Berry is going to have a philosophy about how he wants to build a team. and he's going to have a philosophy and the scouts that he's worked with and trust their evaluation. But you have to, it's a fine line, Glenn. You have to draft for talent because we've seen too many examples of teams saying, hey, we don't have a blank, so we have to take a blank. And then 3 years down the road, you look stupid.
Exactly.
But they have a huge hole at left tackle. There's a bunch of great left tackles here. I think for the Browns, everything's lining up.
Doug Lesmerises is here from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Did you know the Ohio Lottery has paid out $1 billion in winnings over the past 6 months? People are winning in record numbers, and it's happening all around the state of Ohio. Play an Ohio Lottery game and play it today. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. There you have it, facebook.com, more-sports-and-les-levine. We're going to come back in a moment. Doug Lesmerises is with us. Lots to do tonight. We'll take your phone calls, 216-575-0403. We'll find out what Stephen A. Smith had to say about Odell Beckham and Baker-Mayfield. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Let's check out birthdays for today. 1947, Denise and a nephew were born on this date. Baron Davis, Hunter Pence, Lorenzo Kane, Josh Gordon, and Melvin Gordon. Born on this date, the 13th of April. 216-575-0403. Email us during the show at reallesslevine at gmail.com. Doug Lesmerises is with us. The lack of fun and pizzazz and all that we're going through now, does it take away the way you thought they would do this draft situation? They took it away from Las Vegas, which is the party place of party places. They're simpling it down to Roger Goodell actually doing it from his own basement. Should they have canceled it for a while or suspended it for a while? Or are they doing the right thing here?
No, I think they're doing the right thing. I mean, believe it or not, Les, there was a time when the NFL draft was conducted without water fountains. So, just pick the dude. However, right, of all the times you don't have it, it's Vegas. You're going to miss Vegas. I went to the one in Chicago a few years ago, and it was fine. I mean, I love Chicago, but it was just like in a building on a stage. So this is it's a shame it's this one that's going to be so cool. Cleveland's next year is going to be great too, and they'll get Vegas again down the road. But you got to have the draft. In the end, it's about getting the players on the
The NFL has been very proactive about this stuff. They got a lot of things going on. You got Vegas that may have a problem because the stadium has some issues. So they may play some games in San Diego. Could play them in Salt Lake City. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. But the most important thing is everybody's got to be safe. The fact that even baseball talking about playing games without fans. Well, they don't have fans because of the possible problems with the virus. So if the fans have a problem, obviously the players are going to have problems. It's not going to pick out certain guys and not affect them.
Yeah, right. I mean, the whole thing with all of this, right, is that fans are a great big group, players are a smaller. So the smaller a group is, the bigger, the better chance you have to try to test and maybe control things. But I think the thing we're finding out through all of this, Les, and it applies to life, not just sports, but there's so much ancillary stuff in sports nowadays, right? I mean, we love that everything has pageantry. Like a regular season game in May between the Indians and the White Sox has some, they try to have some zing to it. In the end, people like games. People like games they can bet on. People like having fantasy football leagues. People just like watching their favorite players try to hit a home run or try to throw a touchdown pass. So I do think in the end, again, and we've talked about this before, the baseline is safety. So like if you can't be safe, there's no discussion. But if you can be safe, I don't think you need a lot of the ancillary stuff. Get some guys on a field and give them a ball and let's go.
Interesting. I mean, I want to see baseball so badly, but I just don't like the stuff that the real world part of it takes away so much of it.
Yeah, no, I know. And so we're not gonna, I don't think, right? I don't think we're gonna get it the way we want it right away. So it's a matter of, do you want it kind of weird or do you want to wait until everything's back to normal? And I talked about on here several times. I'll take sports as long as it's safe in any form we can get
Any
it,
way you can get it.
whenever it.
Yeah, we're all going to have to get used to that, and hopefully that'll happen soon. Stephen A. Smith had some things to say about Odell Beckham. This is the low-hanging fruit portion of this show tonight. He says Mayfield's struggles when targeting Beckham was part of the problem. I think it's easy to say it was Baker's fault, and more easy to say it was Freddie Kitchens' fault. I don't blame last year's absence of production, at least what we expected, on Odell. I blame it on Baker Mayfield and Freddie Kitchens. I think the combination of the two wasn't good for Beckham or for Jarvis-Landry, for that matter. He's a victim of all of this, too. I believe that Odell Beckham Jr., if he was in a better situation, he would have looked considerably better, and we wouldn't be having this discussion that we're having about him right now. Doug, that may be very true, but he did some things that caused things to happen. He wasn't major trouble, just little things that picked at everybody, whether it's shoes, whether it's watches, whether it's not showing up for practices. Nothing major. I don't think it was a big problem in the locker room, but I think just to say it was Baker Mayfield's fault, I think isn't fair.
No, I don't think that's fair either. And the reference there is we wouldn't be having this discussion. I don't know what that discussion is. Is there a discussion that like people don't think Odell Beckham is good? I think he's still good. What do people think that he shouldn't be a Brown? I still think he should be on the Browns. Like it wasn't great last year, but I have not changed my opinion of Odell Beckham based on last year, and I really haven't changed my opinion on Baker Mayfield. I think they're both still going to be good, and I think last year was kind of weird, but I do think if you're, and I love questions like this, like dividing up percentages of whatever, credit or blame. I don't think I'd put Odell first, but he's up there. I think you could almost spread it out between Freddie and Baker and Odell almost evenly in some ways, because there were clearly times open, and we all did stories about that. Look at the route. The guy's open, Baker's not throwing to him. They're throwing to tight ends in the red zone instead of throwing to Odell Beckham. There were problems there. But there were also times when Odell dropped the pass, when he had a chance to make a big play. There were times when he wrong route. So
let's take a look at Baker when he was targeting Odell last year. 55.6% completions, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 69.0 passer rating. But you know what, Doug, you look at it and say he was open or he wasn't open. He might have seemed open, but he might not have been in the place he was supposed to be, and we don't know that as guys sitting on our couch just watching.
No, and I've talked to people to get some idea that did happen at times, right? That sometimes what you think you see isn't actually what you see. But again, I have never had a problem with the shoes or the watch, and I did not care that he wasn't here for OTAs. It affected them that he was not there during the preseason, that he did not play in preseason games. The injury in the preseason was, I think, the main thing that affected everything. And then it was just off kilter. And everybody takes responsibility for that. But I also think it absolutely can be fixed this year, and I expect it will be.
All right, let's take a look at a special programming announcement coming up next Thursday night, and that'll be the 23rd at 8 p.m. Join me, Les Levine, along with Dave Bacon and the cleveland.com staff. We'll break down the draft. We'll do it live from 8 o'clock until whenever that first round is done. That comes up on a week from Thursday, the 23rd of April. 216-575-0403, Northeast Factory Direct. 3 great locations, West 140th Street, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, as well as Freeway Drive. That's in the south, that's in Macedonia, or northeastfactorydirect.com. East, west, or south for the finest prices you're ever going to find. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. Doug Lesmerises is with us. We'll get a sneak preview, maybe. This is fake news as we show you the something that will look very close to what the Browns uniforms will be this year. We'll check that out and more when we get back. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Naturestone's 30-year anniversary with a free Naturestone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Naturestone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
Got your Ohio Lottery pick 3, I see.
Yup. Those glasses are hip.
Hip? Most people think I'm a square. But what's wrong with that? A box bet can increase your chances of winning. And what is a box? A square. There are so many ways to play. There's coming out the wazoo. Oh, shucks. Look at me yammering on. Put a lid in it, Picky Ricky. Play the Ohio Lottery Pick 3 today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for a How Come Quickie. Doug, how come a punt returner can call for a fair catch, but he can't call for a good catch? Any idea?
If I was a punt returner, I would only call for great catches. So.
You don't get that choice. 216-575-0403. A little bit later, well, very soon, I want to talk about Doug and the Ohio State spring game that was supposed to be yesterday. But first, UniWatch gives us a sneak preview of what the Browns' uniforms will look like. People say, how do the Browns look? Well, it depends on if you like their uniforms or not. Let's take a look. This doesn't look too much different than it did, I don't know, 64, 70, something like that. The helmet keeps the stripe on. What do you think? This is not official, but this is close to what people who check these things out, this is what they've checked out. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm terrible at this stuff. I am sometimes astounded how much fans care about this, but I get it, right? I mean, people care about how they look. They care how their team looks. I think if you can merge something that harkens back to the past, but is sharp, like in a modern way, I think you're usually hitting a sweet spot there. So I think these feel like they do that. I know there are people out there who would like maybe a little bit of Brownie the Elf, like hiding somewhere on a uniform in a very subtle way somewhere. And
Well,
I would be in favor of that too.
you,
But it seems okay to me.
my understanding of the helmet situation and the Brownie Elf or anything else, I believe Randy Lerner had 4 things that he asked for on the sale from to Jimmy Haslam, and I believe one of them was that the orange helmet stays the same with the stripe on it, no logo, no change of anything on the helmet. One of the other things I think was to keep Al Lerner's statue up at Berea, right outside the main entrance, and I don't know about the other 2. Have you heard anything about those?
I have not, but I can confirm that the statue exists. So that
Yes.
is my only contribution to that discussion. But you don't have to put Brownie on the helmet. Just like hide him on a thigh pad or something, like a sneaky little elf hiding on the uniform. That'd be fun.
You like the cute Brownie Elf or the nasty Brownie, the sneering? Both?
I prefer my elves nasty. Always.
Well, the Christmas spirit, Doug Lesmerises. 216-575-0403. All right, let's get back to what we talked about early on in the show, and that is your little trip down the memory lane at Ohio Stadium, one of the great venues in all of sports, no question about that. And it was supposed to be yesterday where it was going to be the spring game, and not usually, but a couple of times they've hit 100,000 fans out there at $5 a pop. I think the money always went to charity, did it not?
You know what? I don't know for sure. I know they've done canned food drives as part of it before. The thing that I like best about it is that it's a chance for people who can't get there in the fall to take
Right.
their kids to an Ohio State game. And I had things in my life when I was a kid where my parents maybe couldn't afford to go to the real thing, so they take you to the fake thing, and you don't know the difference. You're in Ohio Stadium, and there are Buckeyes on the field. What a great day that is. So I love that opportunity for fans.
I've fessed up on this on the air a few times that when my kids were young, I would take them to the circus or somewhere, and I didn't tell them there was such a thing as intermission. I said, "Okay, kids, time to go. We're out of here." And my son was in his mid-teens before he figured out that we never had a problem getting out of the traffic jams.
See, but they weren't scarred or anything. They still had a great outing with their dad. I think, but there was an amusement park my parents took me to. You park your car, you ride the tram in from the parking lot. I thought that was the ride. I thought that was the park.
Let's go on that one again, Dad.
Yeah, and I did a story about this a couple of years ago. I mean, again, the cheap games, the lousy games against MAC teams are $70 for Ohio State now, and the good games are almost $200. For a family, you throw in food and parking and everything else.
No.
That is something that a lot of people can do. But you can pay, and you can always get a ticket for the spring game. You don't have to know somebody. You pay $20 for a family of 4. You show up, and you get to experience something. The weather is usually pretty good in the spring. I really felt that loss. That sort of hit me on Saturday. I was sitting and writing about it, and then I said, I'm going to go down there. And to just walk around that stadium and realize what it should have been and what it wasn't was, we all have different moments during this where it's kind of driven home for us. That was a moment where it was kind of driven home for me.
You also, you said what the temperature, the weather was at all these big Ohio State-Michigan games or any other game. And you're not going to get perfect spring weather for this, but it's still going to be good enough for football.
And I know people love football weather. I'm getting old when it's damp. It hurts my bones. I'll take spring. I know people like the fall because that's when football is, but I like football in the spring. So, I mean, it really is a fun day, and it bothers me in the past. Sometimes people have seen when Ohio State drew 99,000, they drew 100,000, and people make smart remarks about, like, why are that many people showing up to a practice? And it's because it's cheap family fun, and people in Ohio love football, and what a great Saturday in April it can be. So I don't like it when people make fun of people for showing up for the spring game.
So who do you root for, a good offense or a good defense?
Well, you root for touchdown passes. I mean, you just root for 70 touchdown passes. But and that's the thing. Things that they had a quarterback competition in the spring game a couple years ago, and the loser went on to win the Heisman.
That's the best he could have done?
I mean, yeah. I mean, like that. Urban Meyer Urban Meyer's tweeting out a photo this week of Chase Young sacking Joe Burrow. It's the probable number 2 pick in the draft, hitting the number 1 pick in the draft. It was from the spring game when they were 2 Buckeyes going against each other. You actually also end up seeing some interesting, good football during the spring game.
Was there any question that Burrow should not have been the starter at Ohio State based on what we knew at that time?
No, I thought, and I remember writing it that day, there was a throw that Dwayne Haskins made on that day that was just like a perfectly placed 30-yard throw into the corner of the end zone. And I was like, that's the throw.
Game's
it's
over.
got to be Dwayne.
Yeah.
It's got to be Dwayne. And so if people do think, and I think people learned by the end of Joe Burrow's season, it wasn't that Ohio State didn't give him an opportunity, and it wasn't that Ohio State made a mistake letting Joe Burrow go. Dwayne Haskins finished 3rd in the Heisman that year. Dwayne Haskins threw more than 50 touchdown passes. So they picked the right guy, and then it just so happens the guy who finished 2nd and left improved himself and got a lot better. And so Joe Burrow was awesome, but Ohio State didn't make a mistake in that quarterback battle.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Doug Lesmerises, plain dealer in cleveland.com, is with us. You can explore your interests, find a program that puts you on the path to a bright future at Tri-C, offering more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu to find out more information. We're coming back in a moment. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Ball and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohio-lottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Let's check out this date in sports history, brought to you by Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. April 13th, 2 different years, 1986, Jack Nicklaus wins his Masters, his 18th major, and the same day back in 1997, it's Tiger Woods who wins his first Masters and his first major. Pretty good, both phenomenal sporting events that Nicklaus won it at his age, and Tiger was just starting it off. Doug Lesmerises is here. And so is Mike Macetta. Wow, it's Nature Stone. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hey guys, how you guys doing tonight?
We're doing well under the circumstances. All right, quickly, you got the Browns and everybody else in the NFL a week from Thursday, and we'll be covering it here on cleveland.com, talking about the NFL draft. Have you changed your mind about what you want and what you think you want at this point?
Well, I'm starting to actually lean more towards Isaiah-Simmons from Clemson. And that's a change from where I was at with the offensive tackle. And I have a feeling that that anchor of the offensive line is not going to be there at 10, but Simmons might be. And I think that Simmons may possibly be the best overall player in the draft. And he's a defensive, can do a lot on the defensive side of the ball. For the Browns in a position of need for them. They don't have a star in the backfield linebacker or safety type position. It's one of those new hybrid type spots. So I'm leaning more towards Isaiah Thomas, and I think they've done a good job of addressing the offensive line to this point, and they can probably pick up some linemen later in the draft to fill in where they need to.
All right, Doug Lesmerises is here. Both of you, this question is for both of you. There was a time when the linebacker position, you had the Dick Butkuses of the world and guys like that. You were in one position and you stayed that way. And if you had a guy like Simmons, you probably said, well, he's not good enough to play in the linebacker thing, and we'll have to use him in special occasions or special deployments. But now all of a sudden the game has changed. I don't know if it's analytics or what it is. It seems to me he's now that position is now valued for guys like Simmons. You agree or disagree, Doug?
No, I think a lot of times what I think we used to call a tweener, that can be a positive now. I played safety, he played corner, he played linebacker for Clemson. I think you could keep him on the field, line him up at slot corner, have him in certain matchups. And so I think, Mike, the point that you're making is in a world where there's so many matchups defensively now, and your nickel defense is often your base, and you need Isaiah-Simmons would stay on the field every snap defensively for 16 games, and he just would be a chess piece that you move around. So I do understand why he's attractive, and I'm sure that's part of the reason you're starting to lean him.
He's attractive, but there's 4 guys at another position who may be a bigger need and maybe better at what they do. But I think in the Browns' case, they need, right now the linebacker core is not very good, and this would be a way to get it on its start to get back to where they should be.
Yeah, and I don't want them to draft an offensive lineman just for the sake of drafting an offensive lineman. I know that there are some good offensive linemen in this draft, particularly the 4 tackles that we know about from the various schools. But I don't want them to just pick one, because they need a left tackle. They have offensive linemen, and they can move people around and put together a pretty good offensive line with what they have, and they'll still be able to address it later in the draft for backup roles and possible starting positions, as well as through additional free agency pickups if they need to. So I think they're okay. Simmons gives them that hybrid position, much like a kid from Michigan was supposed to do, that they traded to New York and Peppers was supposed to do. But I think Simmons is an even better version of Peppers because he can play the corner spot as well as rush the passer from the linebacker position.
All right, just quickly here, are we all in all agreement if Simmons is available, he's the guy? I'm saying he's the guy. How about you, Doug?
No, not necessarily. I don't think he's going to be there. I think Mike is making all the right points. I will disagree with one thing. Their starting left tackle is not currently on the roster. So if they don't draft him at 10, they would either have to start exploring a Trent Williams trade or take that tackle in the second round or do something. They do not have a left tackle now. So Simmons to me seems too much of a luxury, but I also don't think he's going to be there. But I understand why you like him, Mike.
Yeah, we all like him. All right, Mike, we got to go. Thanks for joining us, Nature Stone. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
Hey, you got it, guys. Stay safe and healthy, and wow, it's Nature Stone.
There you go. Thanks, Mike. Mike Masetta. Great people, great company, Nature Stone. All right, we're going to take a break and come on back with Doug Lesmerises, Northeast Factory Direct, East, West, and South. They got those locations. Before you go anywhere, though, check out northeastfactorydirect.com. Sokolowski's University Inn, they are closed right now. They'll be first ones open as soon as they get the word, and we heartily suggest you using them sometime very, very soon in the Tremont area. Sokolowski's University Inn. We're coming back in a moment. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone for up to half off and never replace your garage flooring again. Cracked, uneven garage floors are dangerous. Thin paints and poly coatings you can do yourself are slippery, peel, and don't correct problems. Why pay for a floor that won't last? Only a professionally installed Nature Stone garage floor is safe and corrects problems that paints can't. And Nature Stone comes with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, so there are no hidden maintenance costs. Schedule online today at naturestone.com to qualify for up to half off. Hurry, offer ends April 30th. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Let's take a look at this game in Les-Levine history. Les pulls a tee shot over the fence and onto the street. 2 holes later, a policeman drives up and says, "One of you hit a car," and the driver then hit a utility pole. "What are you going to do about it?" And Les said, "I'm going to grip the club a little tighter." You a golfer, Doug?
I once hit a tee shot at the first tee of a course next to a road, and it bounced across the road and smashed the glass window of a car dealership. So yes, I am a golfer.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. All right, we have some Facebook. Well, we have a Facebook question of the day and answers to it. I'll ask you first, Doug. Share your favorite Cleveland sports memory as both a fan and a member of the media.
Oh boy, I would say so. I did not grow up in Ohio, so I was not a Cleveland sports fan growing up. I hope people don't hold that against me. I will say the electricity, honestly, of when Baker-Mayfield came into the game for the first time, when Tyrod Taylor got hurt, Jets, and like the hope that was in that stadium, and knowing like what the Browns are to this city. That's a weird thing, maybe, but it felt like the beginning of something. We don't know if that's going to be the end of it. In the end, it will be something. But that moment was great. Like, here we go.
Glenn Berger says, attending the first game of the September 1954 doubleheader against the Yankees, 86,000 fans were in attendance. The Indians swept the doubleheader and were just about ready to win the American League pennant. They won 111 games out of 154. Dennis Davis says, being at the 97 playoff game when Sandy Alomar homered off Mariano Rivera, that was magical. Barb Bobrowski, being at Nolan Ryan's last game at Municipal Stadium before he retired. I remember when he was leaving the mound after being pulled, he tipped his hat to the crowd. Larry Pantages says there was never a more quiet stadium after Brian Sipe threw the red zone interception, Red Right 88, 1981. And there was never a louder arena after Dick Snyder made the winning basket in the 1976 Miracle of Richfield. Ted Moon says, having a pregame lunch with my dad and one of his customers at Captain Frank's, then attending the Miami Dolphins versus the Browns on November 28, 1976. Sipes Browns narrowly escaped Bob Greasy's Dolphins, and Don Shula was outcoached by Forrest Gray. Dan Gillespie says Rick Manning's July 11, 1975 Inside the Park homer, when asked by the reporter after the game what he thought without missing a beat, Rick said, "I knew it was gone the second I saw it bounce off the wall." Andy Mees, being in attendance for Game 1 of the Indians-Red Sox ALDS series in 2016, it was a great memory I will cherish. It was only the beginning of their improbable run. That was the Tony Pena home run game. And Len Gold says, being at the 64 championship game for the Browns, as it turned out, that would be the last one that they would win. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Reynoldsburg, Ohio, and we'll say hi to Mike. Mike, good evening.
Evening, gentlemen. Hope all is well with you.
We are here. We are well.
Good to hear. Doug, I've got a question for you. What is up with the Ohio State basketball team and all these transfers?
Yeah, I think it's mostly, and I wrote something about this, I think it was maybe some misidentification in the recruiting process. I think Chris Holtman and his staff, it was their first 2 years in getting full recruiting classes. There's always an adjustment period. There's an adjustment coming from a place like Butler to Ohio State, the types of players that are going to fit your program. I don't think there's like a toxic environment or anything at Ohio State right now. That's not the case. I just think they missed in figuring out who was going to fit here and how the pieces were going to fit together. So I think it's a big issue. But I wouldn't worry that like there's a problem at the program. They just got to recruit better.
Isn't it weird? Luther Muhammad plays for 2 years and he says, I want to be more part of the offense. I thought basketball, you played offense and defense. That's a weird comment, don't you think?
Yeah, they're getting they're adding Seth Pounce, Harvard. He's going to play an important role. Part of it was Dwayne Washington and Luther Muhammad, both in that recruiting class, kind of play the same position. So there's only one ball, right? There's only one ball, and you can't cut it to 5 pieces. So guys are often unhappy with their roles, but part of coaching is getting guys to buy in, even if it's not exactly what they want to do. So I do think coaches face this every day, but a lot of coaches still explain to guys why staying at your college is the best move for you.
Mike, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead.
It's almost like winning is not good enough. It's like I'm not worried about winning. I just want to play more basketball or something.
Put up my numbers, yeah.
And in Chris Holtman's defense, there are a gazillion transfers in college basketball right now. Whether that's right or wrong, whether you like it or not, it's the reality. Guys transfer all the time, often over playing time and their role. So it's common, but still what Ohio State has had with 3 guys leaving since the end of this season still is excessive.
Right. I think basketball also is one sport where you need unity. You need 5 guys, 6 guys playing together.
Yep, that's for sure. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Stay safe out there, please.
Take care. Yes, thank you.
We've got the voicemail today, the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Ron checks in. Hello, Ron. What do you have to say?
Hi, Les. This is Ron Byer. Hey, Les. Sports-wise, last week, the big issue and talk locally as well as nationally was about Baker-Mayfield. Les, everyone forgets about last year's Game 4, Sunday, September 29th, against the Baltimore Ravens, where Baker and the Browns looked like contenders for the Super Bowl. The only full game where Freddie Kitchens acted like he knew what he was doing. I believe with the right game plan, Baker will excel. Last year, Baker tried to force the ball to Beckham, and Beckham would not and did not come back on his routes to help Baker out. Baker needs to forget less about his commercials and put his total concentration into quarterbacking, and he'll be our franchise quarterback to lead the Browns to the Super Bowl.
All right, Ron, thank you very much. We appreciate it as always. Don't forget, a week from Thursday, we'll have our exclusive draft coverage here on cleveland.com. Dave Bacon will join me as well as the cleveland.com staff. We'll break down the draft. We'll cover it live starting at 8 o'clock right here on cleveland.com. We also have the voicemail of Truth and Reason. You know that. Ron just used it. Call anytime to leave us a message, just as he just did. 216-200-6650. We'll use the best messages on a future show. Doug Lesmerises and I come back one more time. More Sports and Les-Levine, seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
You love it, always wanted it, and there's never been a better time to get Nature Stone than during our Spring Weather Breaker sale. We're breaking spring sales records with up to half off beautiful Nature Stone garage floors, patios, porches, and more. Correct cracked, uneven concrete that thin paints and poly coatings can't. Every Weather Breaker savings comes with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, and there are no hidden maintenance costs. Schedule online today at naturestone.com to qualify for up to half off. Hurry, offer ends April 30th. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohio-lottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Bud Shaw will join us. You can reach him at Bud Shaw. And, of course, you see us live from 6 until 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can, of course, archive us any time of the day, the other 23 hours of the day. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine, and right here on cleveland.com. Doug Lesmerises is with us. Doug, we got some How Come Quickies. Can we use you as a judge here, 0 to 10?
Let's go.
All right, let's
No
go.
10.
This is from Big Ed. How come when a woman says what, it's not that she didn't hear you, she's giving you a chance to change what you said?
That's just life advice. That's life coaching right there. We should pay for that kind of advice. Well done.
Give me a number.
8.
8 is good. Larry uses one that I've been using for years now. How come the Cleveland Spiders don't have a website?
Hey, that's good. I love the name Cleveland Spider, right? Oh, great name. Spiders, the logo. Oh, my gosh. 9.
They have the Brownie Elf as their logo.
An elf with a
Ken
spider on
Carmen.
his head.
Ken Carmen from 92.3 The Fan has sent in a How Come Quickie. How come they're called the Portage Lakes when they're in Summit County? It's an excellent question. Excellent question. How come Upper
Ken is a deep
Sandusky?
guy.
How come Upper Sandusky is south of regular Sandusky? By the way, on Ken Carmen with Anthony Lima tomorrow at 7:30, Governor DeWine will be with them on the phone, so you may want to check up on that. Quickies continue to be thrown at us. Mr. Gullible, how come when a piece of lettuce dropped on my fork, it was only the tip of the iceberg?
Hey!
I like that
boy.
one. I like that one. I don't like the next one. You know, I hate that. That's like hitting a 600-foot home run and then coming back and popping up with the bases loaded. He came up with the second one that he knows. They know I can't use them. They're testing me. It's okay. I can take it.
You're a pro. You can handle it.
John Patrick, how come there's only one bowling lane in the White House? It must be really crowded on league night.
I like that. Yeah.
Could you imagine league night at the White House?
I would love to be part of that. League night at the White House. 7.
One of these days, I want to talk. You tell me if you want this to be part of our discussion one night, or I can use it on Bud or anybody else. I was in a bowling league in my 20s, and there was no alcohol involved. And I went to drop a guy off at his home, and about midnight, and I swear to God, saw a flying saucer.
No.
Yeah.
All right. You can maybe use that one on Bud.
You don't want to.
Flying saucer.
Why? Because it'll get in the way of your flying saucer stories?
Yeah, no, I'll look you and Bud tomorrow night. Half the show on flying saucers. I'm watching.
Okay, maybe we'll do that. Or I'll do it every night with every guest here. We'll have tell your flying saucer story. But I must repeat, there was no alcohol involved. All right, you got about a minute. Anything other than a flying saucer story? You got anything you want to add to the proceedings?
No, I just want to congratulate you, Les, on the wonderful viewership numbers for your show, and I apologize for when I come on and I drive those ratings down. But
no, you're one of the reasons is where it is. For those who don't know what Doug is talking about, Kevin Kleps of Cleveland Crane's business wrote. Well, I was going to say flattering article, and I was saying he did it exactly the way I dictated it to him. But we appreciate it very much, and if you get a chance, I think the live copies of the Crane's Cleveland comes out, I think, tomorrow, but you can check it out online now. Doug, thank you so much for joining us as always. And you want to make a prediction on who the Browns will draft? Or do you think, two things, will there be a trade, up or down, or do you know, or who you're going to go with?
Well, I'll be on the draft show with you guys as part of the Cleveland.com through on that Thursday night. My prediction is that Isaiah-Simmons will be gone before the Browns pick. A couple tackles will be gone, and I predict, and a lot of people pick this, I'll say Andrew Thomas from Georgia, number 10, left tackle.
Couldn't go wrong with that. Doug, thanks so much. Stay safe, and we'll see you hopefully for sure we'll see you next week on our draft coverage. Thanks, as always, for your consideration and your help.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Les.
Terrific. Doug Lesmerises, cleveland.com. All right, that'll do it for us. Tomorrow night, Bud Shaw. Wednesday night, it'll be the D-Man, Dennis Manilow. We'll see you then. Of all the shows I've ever done, this is the most recent.